I'm actually going to be reviewing the remainder of Ahsoka. I didn't review episodes 1 and 2 because I was actually on my 7-year wedding anniversary vacation trip at the time. I really enjoyed episode 1 and 2. I thought that it had a good pace starting out. I love the villain characters that they've introduced, including Balin and Shin. A lot of times a show is only as good as its villain. And I also like the fact that in the first 2 episodes, we were moving at a good steady pace. Some of the things that I didn't like about the first 2 episodes were kind of how slow the combat scenes were. I mean, there were good scenes for sure. I just thought that, you know, Ahsoka in the cartoon is very athletic. She does a lot of flipping and twirling and so on and so forth. Now, granted, that's animation. You can't do all that kind of stuff with live action. However, I would love to see some well-paced, well-choreographed action scenes similar to what we got in Star Wars Episode 3, where not everything can be up to that par, but I'm really hoping that we get some kind of fights like that going forward. Moving on to episode 3. Let's talk about the good first. The best part of this episode is honestly Ahsoka. She balled out in this episode. From being on top of the ship and cutting down those starfighters to just being a great presence as a teacher in the beginning of the episode. I thought that the training scene was kind of a mixed bag because there were some things that I'll talk about in my negatives that I didn't like about it. What I did like about it was that there was an actual training scene. We know that Sabine's coming back under the wing of Ahsoka, and I like the fact that we get this developing relationship through these conversations. And one of the best parts of that relationship developing is when Ahsoka and Sabine have to learn to let go and trust each other and not be as stubborn in the midst of battle. Once Ahsoka kills her ego and allows Sabine to take control during the battle and follows her lead in the situation, their relationship starts to grow immediately. A lot of shows stretch out this kind of conflict between people who have been estranged for a while, and it lasts until episode 6, 7, and 8 when they finally have a breakthrough. I'm so glad that this show has nipped that in the bud early.
How you do it early? When you do it early. I was brought up on the streets, I was influenced early.
Now we can just focus on growth and focus on other important aspects of the show. Other things I really enjoyed was the clear setup between Hera and the senators. The one senator, he's clearly working for Thrawn. There's no doubt in my mind that guy is behind something. It was also great to see Mon Mothma again. Her presence is always great in Star Wars. Whenever she comes, she has this really regal look with her long chain. Does her chain hang low? Does it wobble to the flow? Of course it does. It always has. And of course, how could I forget space whales, my nigga? Like, I love the space whales. It was so cool to see them in live action. They are huge. They're some big boys. And of course, my god Chopper, the murder robot who's fighting for good, thank God. It's always good to see him. One of the strengths of the show so far is that it's moving along at a great pace. We're moving towards Thrawn and Ezra. Of course, we're here to see Ahsoka. Ahsoka's great, and so is the rest of the Rebels crew. But Thrawn, to me, is the big draw. Right? And also the space battle towards the end of the show. Pretty incredible. Love seeing that Ahsoka was able to slip into that suit in like 0.5 seconds and get out on top of the ship, take those fighter ships down. We will talk about that as a part of the negatives as well. Kind of. I don't really have a lot of super negatives in this show. With that being said, let's actually get to the negatives. Although I like the fact that there was a training scene, there were some things about the training scene that really bothered me. If Sabine was Ahsoka's apprentice before, and we're watching this training scene, and it seems like Sabine has never heard of any of these concepts that Ahsoka is talking about. What was the training that she had before? Because right now it seems like she needs to be taught about the Force. It seems like this is the first time she's ever had the blindfold kind of training that Luke has had. She doesn't seem to be privy on anything Jedi or Force related. It just seems to be so new to her when we were led to believe that she was Ahsoka's Padawan. Someone's got to tell me what was taught before in Ahsoka's Force classes, because right now it seems like the curriculum's a little expensive and you're not really getting a lot back. So my second issue is the discussion of the Force and how exactly we're determining who's Force sensitive and who can actually wield the Force. It really seems like this show, from Ahsoka's point of view, is saying that Force flows through everyone, which is something that's been said before, of course. But Force wielding or being Force sensitive, or unfortunately having a lot of midichlorians, seems to be the thing that has always allowed us to determine who can use the Force and who can't. So right now we're being told that Sabine has no Force sensitivity whatsoever. It doesn't seem like Ahsoka has seen anything in her that would make her want to invest in her to become like a future Jedi. So why did that happen? At what point did Ahsoka say to Sabine, hey, I want you to be my Padawan? I think it's a good idea. I see the Force in you. It really seems like she's just pulling that out of nowhere, just trying to train Sabine because reasons. So yeah, so that was something that bugged me as well, because if everyone can learn how to use the Force, and the Force flows through everyone, then Force users, I guess, become less special in a sense. One of the things that Ahsoka mentions is talent has to be a big part of it, right? That's something that her and Hu Yang talked about, which was the talent aspect. I don't know how to translate that, because in my mind, the talent aspect is the Force sensitivity aspect. So how are we interpreting that? I'm very confused about that. I would love some more clarity on it going forward. And my last issue with this episode is not that big of a deal, because I'm sure it's going to be resolved at some point. Ray Stevenson's character of Balin is just standing around telling people what to do, right? He told Shin, go get that thing. He told those henchmen to go get Sabine and Ahsoka, who are in the woods, and don't let them escape, and so on and so forth. It's like, dude, you just been standing there telling everybody else what to do. Why would you even send those henchmen to Ahsoka? I'm assuming that you know who Ahsoka is and what she's all about. So I would assume that you know that you yourself need to go down there to get her if you want to get her, because she ain't no joke. So those are really my biggest issues with the episode, kind of some of the lore stuff that needs to be explained a little better. But overall, I had a really good time, and I will just go into my bonus issue. Stormtroopers, the villains, or whoever, they still can't shoot.
I'm gonna split them. Ready? Ready. Now!
How much time, how much space, literally, do they need to continue to miss Sabine as well as Ahsoka? Ahsoka and Sabine are driving directly for the space ring thingy. I told you guys I don't remember what it's called. They're not hitting her or the ship at all. And I'm just concerned about the Empire's targeting systems. I feel like they went to the cheapest manufacturer that they could get, because they spent a lot more expenses on the Death Star, so they had to cut some costs somewhere. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Ahsoka episode 3. I'm really enjoying this show so far, despite some of the things that I really have like complaints about, but I do think that this show is moving at a good pace, and I'm excited to see where we go. I think that we're going to get Thrawn and Ezra probably in about episode 5, so here's hoping. All right, guys, let me know what you thought about episode 3 in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon.